Through my links folder. So, what does that mean whenever you say 12.6 volt open circuit voltage reading? Anybody tell me?
There's some not open circuit, is that
What does that mean when you got an open circuit voltage reading battery?
with the key on but not car running?
That's when you got a battery sitting on the bench and there's nothing hooked to it.
Okay.
That means there's no loads hooked to it at all. It's totally open, right? Okay, so sounds to me like you, Amanda said both of them were C, is that right? Hydrometer reading of 12.6 or 1.265 indicates battery cell has a proper electrolyte specific gravity. How do you measure that electrolyte specific gravity? These may sound like simple questions, but I want to make sure everybody's not dumb. This is look at here. Technician B says a hydrometer reading. This is a thing where you squeeze the bulb and it pulls it up and it's floating. You've seen those before, right? I mean, it's kind of like an antifreeze tester, but you're measuring for battery hydrometer. And it's got this graduated, I got one laying in there. I ought to go get it and hold it up.
We got a worksheet on it, the very first semester.
Yeah, whatever. You've seen that. I mean, it's a glass tube. You squeeze it and it floats. And wherever it floats on this thing that's floating in there is giving you your specific gravity.
Take a little plastic piece off and measure each individual thing. Yeah.
Yep. All right. Now then, so she would say that, and let's make sure I got, that's test 5. Make sure I'm in the right spot here. Test 5 is going to be, both of them, is going to be pretty right on that, aren't they? In other words, this is, like I say, some of this battery stuff seems pretty simple, but one of these things got the longest question that I've seen in a long time on a test.
Oh, man, number 3.
Don't you love it? Technician A says current capacity rating of a battery depends on the types of materials used in the construction of the battery. Some batteries actually have silver in there. Did you know anything about that?
Silver.
Yeah, actually, it's the Silver Series batteries. They've got silver, a little bit of silver.
Yeah, I wrote on top, but I ain't never listened in the middle.
Technician B says the amount of electrical energy the battery is capable of producing depends on the size, weight, and active area of the plates.
That sounds about right.
That sounds pretty good.
I like being on that one too. That good.
All right, you like that? What are you getting for them answers? I mean, have you looked them up? What do you see?
Because A should be a battery cell voltage, not the current capacity rating.
Yeah, so you got, current capacity, well, it's going to depend on both those, isn't it? Electrical energy a battery is capable of producing, size, weight, and active area of the plate. The battery of a vehicle has died 3 days in a row. Okay, you hear me? The battery of a vehicle has died 3 days in a row. Each day, the customer was able to start the car after he charged the battery. He was then able to drive the car 150 miles, but the next morning the battery was again discharged. Now, what do we know now? What do we know because of what we've been told? What do we know? We know.
That or the battery has dead.
No, I mean, what do we know? What can we eliminate as a cause of the problem? We know the charging system is working.
Yeah.
Because it stays charging once.
Because he drove it 150 miles. You're not going to be able to drive it to Panama City and halfway back if charges. Even if you got a fully charged battery, it's going to kill it, right? So we know the charging system is working. Does that mean that the alternator is not the problem?
Not really.
Yeah, the alternator can kill the battery, can't it?
Yeah.
And one of the first things I do when I'm looking for if I've got a parasitic drain, one of the first things I do is unplug the alternator. Just to see, if they got wires plugging into the alternator for your voltage regulator, I unplug those because they can go bad and kill the battery. Or you disconnect the alternator and see if it goes away, because there's a lot going on in that alternator diode.
You saying you unplug the alternator and then just keep
see it? No. When I'm checking it in the shop,
Mm-hmm.
all right, in order to check a parasitic drain, you're going to take your meter, put it on amps, take one of the battery cables off, put it between the battery cable and the post you took off. And it's going to read how much current is flowing out of the battery into whatever it is, right? Now, obviously, you can't try to start a car with a meter like that because you're going to blow a fuse in the meter, right?
If
All right,
the
so-
battery's bad, you can, is it the alternator or the battery you unhook? You unhook one of the battery cables and car dies, the battery's bad, right?
No, the alternator's not been out. But there's a problem with that, too. Because if you look at one of the battery terminals, I mean, that's a old school trick from way back long. Hey, you guys, yay! I'm really surprised to see y'all today. I figured y'all would probably try to lay out since it was a school holiday for the high schools. Anyway, so I've got my, if you disconnect the alternator, it causes a voltage spike to go surging through the system a lot of the times. And if you do that on these newer cars, you're liable to see something nasty happen to your, like all of a sudden my variable power steering don't work, my gas gauge is wrong, and, this kind of stuff. So disconnecting the battery while the car is running to see if the alternator is putting out, that's okay when you had a 2150 motor and a plain old electronic ignition box on your fender. But with all of this stuff on there, that's like, whenever you unplug a cord from the wall, how you got a spark that happens, you get a voltage surge right there, a voltage bite. How many times can you do that with your personal computer before there's some kind of issue?
Once, probably.
Yeah. I mean, if you just jerk the computer cord out of the wall, that worries me when that happens because sometimes it'll send it through the computer. So you got a whole bunch of computers. Don't pull your terminal off, like that. That's bad news when you do that. All right. So he's driven at 150 miles after charging it up. This morning it was again discharged. A battery current drain test revealed a 10 milliamp drain. A 10 milliamp drain. Now, what is that? What's 10 milliamps? Somebody tell me what 10 milliamps is.
10 millionths of an amp,
Please.
10,000th of an amp.
Yes. Milliamp. Milli is 1,000.
Okay.
All right. So, okay, 10 milliamp drain. Is that a problem? Is a 10 milliamp drain a problem?
Probably not.
Technician A says the current drain is excessive and could be the source of the problem. Technician B says further testing is required, but it's possible the battery may need to be replaced.
Because it shouldn't lose hardly any at all. 10 milliamp really ain't that much,
Not really.
but it's enough to like you kind of amp out.
What does that mean? About.
I mean, for the testing.
Okay, let me ask you this: how would you further testing? What would you do? I mean, what we always used to run into at the car dealership was the used car salesman would have a car that would sit out there, and I don't know if I showed you all this on that little Sonata over there. But if you pop the cover off and look at the fuse panel, there's a little yellow thing in there that's got two 15-amp fuses in it, and it pulls out far enough to disengage those fuses. If you're going to store that car and it's going to sit there for a couple of months, you pop it out and it keeps from killing the battery. The non-essential circuits, it keeps them. So if you get ready to, and so that's the way they come from the factory. They come with that thing pulled out, and one of the things on pre-delivery you do is you pop that thing in there. A conscientious salesman, whenever he gets through test driving a car with a customer, he's going to generally pop that thing out. And on the Jeep, he would remove the ignition off draw fuse, or on the.
So like all your memory stuff that would kill your battery for a while?
Exactly. You see this particular fuse panel right here? This fuse panel right here came out of a Ford Contour. I'm going to hold it close so the camera can see it. You notice how it's got a mark around that little 7.5 fuse right there? That one right there, you're supposed to pull that fuse out when you're parking the car for a while, and that's the ignition off draw fuse on the Ford Contour. That's what this panel came off of. So the point is, all of these computer circuits are going to pull some stuff down, but how much is too much? Does your book say how much is too much draw?
30 milliamps.
How much?
30 milliamps.
30 or more. And the standard that I always use is 50 milliamps. But 30 milliamps is safe. But a lot of them are going to pull, just under 30. Okay, how long will it take for, let me say this. If I got this relay right here, see if I got this relay, and I was to energize the coil on this relay. Okay, if I energize this coil on this relay, how much current does that relay pull? Anybody got any idea?
12 volts?
Just the coil now. No, current, not voltage.
Okay.
Okay. See that? All right. Here. Let me see if this if this thing here works. Okay, what we want to do here, and you can see how that would be way too much and would kill a battery, right? 10 milliamps not enough. Okay, I got the battery going dead all night. I've determined it's only got a 10 milliamp drain. So now what am I going to do?
Look for the problem. Yeah, look for the problem.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to pull the battery cable off, and I'm going to leave it sitting there all night long. And the next day I'm going to come in. I'm going to put the battery cable back on. Well, what if it's dead then?
Got a bad battery. Your battery's leaking.
The battery's killing itself
Yeah.
internally, and it does that sometimes. That's just, you know,
Have a dead cell or something.
huh?
Hey, Craig. Got like a dead cell, right?
Yep. You get them all done?
Yeah.
All right.
Tested everything.
When to work?
Yeah, everything worked.
Very good.
Craig's
All right.
man.
Okay. Now then. Technician A says during a load test, the battery voltage must not fall below.
Load test.
What does your book say about a load test?
Don't.
I don't hear conjecture. I don't know what the book says about it. I don't hear guesses from people that don't ever crack a book. That's not good. We don't hear. If you don't ever crack a book, you got it? Huh?
What was 2 and 3, Mr. Rager?
Well, what do you think?
Number 2, I thought was B.
Can anybody can anybody let Leon in what 2 and 3 was?
It's F and J.
You know better than that. That's it. He's not cracking the book and running his mouth again.
Who, me?
Yeah, you guys need a battery rating. Have something to. Oh, you wanted to ask about what 2 and 3 was. Okay, Amanda, what do you come up with for 2?
B.
All right. She came up with C, didn't she? All right, and then remember now, technician A says the current drain was excessive. Is it? 30 is what the book's calling for as being too much. And like I say, the basic rule of thumb we used for years was 50, but 30 is probably. And then he's not right. So B would be the one that knew what he was talking about there. I mean, you think so?
But on 3, you said, Condition B says that further testing is required. That's what you need to do on 3. Like I said earlier.
Well, technician B says further testing may be required, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, is it possible? Okay, now then. At 80 degrees Fahrenheit, what is the correct specific gravity of electrolyte in a fully charged battery? 80 degrees Fahrenheit.
C.
Hmm?
C.
You say C?
Yes.
Like cat?
Yes.
That looks right to me, y'all.
4 and B down.
Now, y'all were confused about that. Technician A, because I didn't ever finish that train of thought. Technician A says during a load test, the battery voltage. So how do you do a load test, and how do you determine how much of a load to put on it? That was my question, and nobody answered it really.
When I did my little thing, I take, I hook it up when I'm supposed to, and I turn the knob slowly until I start to get a load on it, and then I turn it up and let it go. If it drops below 9.6 volts, there's something wrong.
Load
Now, wait a minute, but how do you know that you put enough load in it?
Did you have cold cranking that?
Huh?
Yeah, it's not cold cranking it.
Yeah, I'm in your book, you.
That's what I was looking for. You went on to the next questions. Whoa!
Oh, that's go ahead and tell me. Go ahead and tell me.
I'm looking. Still.
Should the load applied be half the cold cranking up rating?
So we have computerized load testing equipment.
That shows you how easy it is to find it in there. You see it?
No.
It's in there somewhere. It's either in the shop manual or the class manual. I'll tell you what it is. It's half the cold cranking out rating. So that's going to be a C. 4 is going to be a C. All right. Okay, 80s. Amanda said C was that one. Number 5, C is right. How many batteries be rated? Amp hours, cold crank amp, reserve capacity, or any of the above?
Cold cranking out.
That's the only way?
I think it's D.
How about any of those? I've seen them rated all them ways. How many cold cranking amps does one of those little gel batteries like I got on my test boards have?
Not a lot.
75. Believe it or not, them little gel batteries got 75 cold cranking amps.
It's not like it's not as much as like one of those batteries.
No. Those batteries. Well, what would the cold cranking amps on that one there be?
0.
Yeah, because they ain't got nothing in it. But if it was a real battery, what would it be?
Like 3 something.
3 something.
3 or 4.
No way.
Whatever's better. I can do that with a real battery. That'd be the main.
As it is, what are you?
530.
530, right? We need to have a battery toss out here one day. Okay,
Let's not do that.
no, let's not do that. Okay, which of the following statements is not true of a replacement battery? A, it may have the same rating as the original battery. Is that true?
Yeah, it may.
Well, that sounds safe to me, doesn't it, to you? B, it may have a higher rating than the original battery.
Good. Optimal too.
C, it may have a lower rating than the original battery. Or D, it should be selected according to an application chart.
Thanks, Steve.
Some of the things that we need to, this one time Jackie Woods came over here with his little Chrysler Sebring, and he said his car was cutting up and cutting out, and sometimes it had cut out, and when he was hitting bumps and stuff. And so I opened the hood, and the battery was tall enough so that it touched the hood. So it was touching the hood, yeah.
She went out of the office.
The battery was tall enough so it was touching the hood. It was shorting out. You could see where it had been scorching the hood. So I took the battery out of it, and I told Sam to send me a battery for this car because the battery that was in it was, too tall, and it was the hood sloped down. It was touching the hood, and it was back kind of back. And so anyway, Lonnie was working for him at the time. So Lonnie brings a vehicle over here, and hey, young lady, how are you doing? What's on your
I'm
mind?
talking about my car. I kind of hit something, and my bumper is still on there. It just needs to be tight, and I guess I don't know if y'all can do that.
You got a loose bumper?
I'll pay.
Is it falling off or what?
It ain't gonna fall off. But I feel like if I hit another bump,
Are you,
My
now,
brain will be
where are you
sitting there.
enrolled? What are you enrolled in?
cosmetology.
Okay, leave it sitting out there, and we'll see about tightening it up.
Okay.
Okay, just leave the key in there. What kind of car is it?
It's a black on black Mustang.
Oh, is it about here? You got parked out there? Okay, leave the key in it, and one of these guys will see about tightening it up.
Okay.
Can I take her test drive when I'm done?
I was not even know.
Hey, I think it's a little zip tie.
Yeah, all right. But anyway, obviously, it's not going to have the lower rating than the original battery, is it? You know what the rule of thumb for these people that would sell these used batteries is 1 co-cranking amp per cubic inch. If you had a 350, you weren't supposed to go lower than that. That was, of course, really you need to put the one back in there with the car. But anyway, Jackie's battery was touching. And so whenever the Sam sent a battery back over here, not only was it taller, but it was just as tall, but it was longer,
Like a diesel
which was going to make it worse. Now, I don't know what kind of battery it's in, but I set those batteries on the ground next to one another. And I said, Lonnie, do you see a problem with this? Lonnie was his parts guy who's bringing it over here. And I said, this battery was touching the hood because it was too tall. Okay, and see where it goes? Yeah. Now, do you see this battery that you brought? What do you think? Oh, no. Come on, Lonnie, you're not dumb. This thing's going to hit the hood harder than the other one, So anyway, they had to send me one that was low. I don't know why some of the, I'm telling you, the reason I told that story was sometimes the application dart is not as smart as you are. And if it obviously doesn't fit, then you got issues. Now, I'll tell you something else. This is really important. We're talking about batteries. A lot of these new cars, if you do not put exactly the battery for that car in there, you will have trouble. And it seems like a battery would be a battery. But if you take a Nissan Versa, and I have this on good authority, and you put something besides the battery for a Nissan Versa in it, it's going to have issues. So what I mean is it's always best to put just the right battery for that car in there. So don't be thinking that a battery's a battery.
Don't do that.
What's he doing?
You can bounce your foot. Just move it away from the chair.
Yeah. All right. All right. Now then. Okay. How long can an automotive battery with a cold cranking amp of 380 deliver 380? Huh?
30 seconds.
How long can an automotive battery with a cold cranking rating of 380 deliver 380 amps? 30 seconds at 0, 60 seconds at 0, 90 seconds at 32, or 90 seconds at 0. This is one of those questions you can't guess at.
Yeah, you gotta look it up.
Has anybody stumbled across that answer? Greg, have you already looked that one up?
Oh yeah. Voltage drops 7.8 volts at 80 degrees after 10 minutes. The current voltage is back up to 12.5 volts.
Hello, William.
Is that on the right page, you think?
I got you a push rod out there, by the way.
What?
A push rod. How long can an automotive battery with a cold cranking rating? We're talking about how many amps. Don't get volts and amps crossed up. Cold cranking of 380 deliver 380. 30 seconds at 0. That's the answer. 30 seconds at 0 degrees. 30 seconds at 0 degrees. Can you remember that? Most people can't tell you that answer off the top of their head, but it's 30 seconds at 0 degrees.
What was 7C?
How do you figure that?
Ma'am?
How do you figure that? Like, is there
Yeah,
like
7C.
Well, you mean, well, if it's, that's basically the way it's rated. At 0 degrees Fahrenheit, with it 0 degrees outside, they rate the things so that if it's like it's a 450 cold cranking amp battery or something, that and you measured it with your inductive clamp, then if it's a good, strong, healthy battery, then whatever's going on downstream of that, it ought to be able to deliver that many, at least that many amps for 30 seconds. So if you're talking about how you measure it or how do you figure it? I mean, because it's basically figuring, it's just basically taking the number of amps that's supposed to deliver that at 0 for 30 seconds. It'll deliver it longer at 32 and warmer than it will at 0, because when it's 0, it's, harder. Whenever everything's really cold, electricity doesn't flow as well. Like if you try to weld, like if you take electric welding apparatus to Siberia where 60 below 0, it won't work because it's too cold. So that kind of thing. That's basically the long and short of that. So, but it's not really any. I mean, there may be some engineering formulas about that, but for our purposes, is automotive technician. So that instrument number 8 is going to be A, which is 30 seconds at 0. That's how long it's supposed to deliver that. They also have these glass mat batteries. Like these hybrid vehicles. A lot of them have got a 12-volt glass mat battery in it that's got to be charged kind of slow. I mean, it's really slow, like 2 or 3 amps, all night long, this kind of thing. What Craig Van Battenberg says, if you start the car and let it run, that's the best charger there is. Let me hit y'all with this. Craig is coming here Monday and Tuesday, and I told him if more than 2 of y'all wants to come, I'm going to draw straws because I can get 2 freebies in here. You know what I mean? It's a $279 class on hybrid vehicles, 6 to 10 at night, a week from today. And so, does anybody want to sit through this class for free? Hold your hand up if you do. If there's more than 2 of you, and I'm going to need to, I see 2 hands, okay? So it's Lawrence and JT. Going to sit through the 2 hour, okay, only 2 hands went up. That's the 2 I'm going to tell them is coming, because I got to tell them who's coming. That works for me.
6 to 10?
Huh?
6 to 10?
6 to 10 Monday, Tuesday. And basically, I don't make anything off of this. I'm working for free on those 2 nights, so that's how that works. Here, right here at the shop,
And Craig Van Battenberg?
Craig Van Battenberg. He's the guy. You remember the guy that we saw on the DVD that I showed? That's that guy.
The crazy cool guy?
Yeah, bald-headed guy, glasses, kind of short, hair hanging like this on his collar.
All crazy nuts and all into everything?
Yeah.
When you grab that thing, it's
Yeah, he's not a boring speaker by any means. He's really good. All right. So, and he's going to run out of material. I mean, he's going to run out of time before he runs out of material. That's the point. He's always got a lot more to say than he has time to say. He's really good.
He can keep talking if he wants to.
And, yes. Okay, at the end of let's see. Battery electrolytes a mixture of water and what other element? Duh.
B.
sulfuric acid?
One time there was this girl named Elisa that was sitting in the student center at the ASGC, and I was going from the photography dark room into the photography classroom across through the student center, because that's where it was. And I went by where she was sitting. I spilled a little of that water on her blue jeans. She goes, "What is that stuff in that beaker?" It was just water, I said, "Well, this is acid. That's the last you'll see of those jeans, She was worried about it for a little while. But which of the following is an indication of how well a battery would perform if the charging system of a vehicle failed?
Reserve, maybe?
Yeah, reserve capacity. And that's not really too hard to figure out. You can do semantics and figure that out. How many volts can each cell in an automobile battery produce?
2.1 volts.
2.1. Well, this is interesting. Isn't it fun? I was out there this morning, and I did I don't know, so I told Amanda this, when that Ranger was sitting there running, while I had to, the high school students coming through here, it was just boiling and stinking like rotten eggs, something fierce.
That's bad.
I'm telling you, while the engine's running, this ain't with a battery charger hooked up, this is while the engine's running.
That's really not good.
And so of course I covered it up with a cloth in case it blew up, maybe, it was stopped most of the plastic fragments and all this kind of stuff. Okay, so here we go. I took the battery out of it, and the battery was about 140 degrees. It was hot.
It's not good.
And so I put it out on the ground. And this morning I set it up on the bench and had all my high school students put on safety glasses, and we measured it. Well, to begin with, charging it up, let me ask you this. If I'm charging a battery, and I've got my voltmeter hooked up where I'm looking at my battery charger, and there's 16 volts going into that battery, what does that tell me?
Overcharging.
No, it tells me it's sulfated. If you got a battery that's taking more than, if you're putting on high charge and it takes more than 15.5 volts for it to cram that voltage in there, the battery's junk. That's a go, no-go test. More than 15.5 volts, sulfated battery. Simple as that. That's something I want everybody in here to recognize and understand. More than 15.5 volts, the battery sulfated. Okay, then we put a charger on it, and we did we put a charger on it, and then we did the 3-minute battery test, right? So on the 3-minute battery test, we measure the voltage of each cell. Okay, so when we went from the negative post to the first water, we measured 0.3 volt. Okay, then we went from the negative post to from the first water to the second, first cell to the second cell in the water, we measured 0.3, which is, not 0.3, 1.8. But all the rest of them measured, except for measured 2.7.
That's too much.
And that's with the battery charging. You do it with it charging, you're supposed to do it with it charging and loaded. And so if you've got more than 1/10 of a volt variation, so you add your first ones together, and we've gone over this before, but I'm going to draw it on the board. Somebody has run off with all my markers. There they are, right there.
I ate them all.
All right. I like to cover this again just because it's a good idea for y'all to remember it. Okay, well, we measured these two. We got 0.3. We measured these two. We got 1.8. These two, 2.7. Now what we would do is we would turn the charger on, measure it, and turn it back off. Turn the charger on, measure it, turn it back off. Turn the charger on, measure it, turn it back off. All right. And, I messed that up. These two, 2.7. These two, 2.7. These two, 2.3. Same thing. And this one right here, from there to there, we measured 2.0. So you add this one and that one together, right? Now, this one here, what's the color? This one here, well, we got 2 volts here and 1.8 there, everybody else, this is 2.7. There's a whole host of problems with this battery. We know that right to start with. And I actually learned to do that initially in Mazda school.
So it's got a bad cell and it's sulfated.
It's got, well, yeah. But it was just at 15.5 volts. It was somewhat sulfated, but it wasn't. It's got shorted plates buckling against one another and boiling. It's a nasty mess. And that's real dangerous too, because if anybody makes any kind of a spark, have you ever heard a battery explode? There's a shotgun right here. Boo, excuse me, your ears will be ringing for a while. And if you're close by without safety glasses on, you get acid all in your eyes and pieces of plastic and all kinds of stuff. Not good. That's why anytime anybody's fooling with a battery, you need to have your safety glasses on. You need to have something to protect your eyes on there. Number 12. What is the principle that what's the principal cause of battery water loss?
Evaporation.
Yeah.
Everybody like that answer?
Yeah.
Evaporation? Sounds good to
Unless
me.
you have a non-vented battery, losing.
What's the difference between a boat battery and a car battery?
A bolt battery is a deep cell.
Deep cycle.
Deep cycle.
What does that mean?
It means you can run it all the way dead and charge it all the way back up without hurting the battery.
Yeah, on a regular car battery, if you run it down and charge it up a few times, it's junk. It's absolute junk. Yeah, and my trainer vehicle batteries are, constantly going through that hogwash. I replaced the one on the GMC because I got tired of having to jump it off every
Why
day.
don't you just put a Duralock?
4 series batteries, the 84 months ones, they're like that too. 3 years, no questions asked. And they're not even Motorcraft, the ones that you buy from the Ford dealer. And they're Silver Series batteries. And those things are stood. They last a long time. Anyway, 13. We've already said evaporation due to heat of the charging current, right?
Yep.
Okay, let me ask you this, y'all. Let me hit you this up. The corrosion on the posts, where does it come from? No, well, what do you mean by that? I mean, where does it come from when it gets on the battery terminals, but where does it come from to get there?
Oxygen in the air.
Huh?
Oxygen in the air.
Moisture in there?
I already have moisture in the air.
Wait a minute. I'm seeing acid on these terminals. It's not coming out of the air.
Oh, it's evaporating out of the battery.
Have you ever seen anybody take the old copper pennies? Now, they don't make pennies out of copper anymore. They're made out of something else. And they got copper color to them. You take these copper colored pennies and you lay them on top of a battery, and most of the corrosion will go to them.
To the copper.
Yeah, and leave the battery terminals alone. Isn't that something? Pretty cool, huh?
Is it because of the acid evaporating out of the battery and it sticking to the terminal?
I tell you where a lot of it comes from. It comes from the place around the post, where the post and the battery case is married together, which is basically right here. It comes from right around here, a lot of it. Now, some of it travels, and it just sweats onto the top of the battery. And I've actually seen on the top of a battery, I've seen a sweat on top of the battery be heavy enough to where it would actually fill the battery, surface drain, they call it. I've actually seen ants get on top of a battery and pile up 1/4 of an inch deep from one post to the other and short the battery down and kill it. Car comes in on a hook, darn thing is 1/4 of an inch deep in ants that just formed a bridge from one battery terminal to the other. I've only seen it like once or twice, but it happens. They also like relays. They like electrical stuff because it's short. They like the electricity. They go to relays and they'll get right between the points on a relay. They just go all over, go all up in a relay if they can get in there. On your pump, out there at your house at your well, ants get in there. You know what I'm saying? They just love to crawl up in there where the electricity is. I don't know why they do that. But I told that little story about I saw that 10,000-pound motorhome. There was one ant that climbed up in that fuel pump relay and got between the points and that fuel pump and crunch.
He was ha.
Yeah, and he lost. He didn't have no fuel pump operation. Click, turn on the key, and it was as dead as a hammer. Anyway, that's pretty cool.
That would.
But anything that's on top of the fan. But what I'm getting at is around the posts. That's why do you think these little felt washers are so effective?
Because they suck up all those.
Yeah, they keep it. They're sort of neutralizing that, and they keep it from coming out there. Anyway, that's a part of it. I used to smear about dielectric grease around the battery terminals and put them on. That seemed to help. And all that. So anyway, just keep that. This stuff is very simple, no-brainer kind of stuff that we're talking about. But if somebody doesn't ever talk about it, there's a lot of stuff that everybody always has something to learn. And I'll tell you something else. I have never in my whole life ever gone to a class after I got past the point of being arrogant and young and thinking I knew more than other people. You get to somebody that when I told JT they used to call him a very small boy, it really, really bothered him. He just gets so hacked at me because I call him a very small boy. And he says, when are you going to stop calling me a very small boy? I said, when it stops bothering you, you're not a very small boy anymore. That's what I told him. I said, but at the same time, somebody that thinks they know everything, it's real hard to teach them anything. And I picked up on that about myself early on. So I said, you may think you know all somebody has to teach you about a particular subject, but I go with an open mind. And I've gone to a lot of electrical classes because I was made to go to basic electrical classes when our dealership would give me franchise. I already had been to the class with Volkswagen, Mazda, Ford. I'd go to Chrysler now. I learn stuff in every doggone class I go to. I know the basic principles, but they always say no, But anyway, and that's pretty good stuff. So just always go with an open mind. You'll be surprised what you'll learn.
What's that red stuff that you spray on the battery terminals? That keeps corroding off.
Oh, that's like paint, basically. It's just waxy paint stuff that you spray on there. It's a barrier. It keeps it from being attracted to the metal. There's ions that go to the metal. Kind of like electroplating,
Yeah.
Okay, so if 450 cold cranking amp battery is used load tested, what should the correct load be?
25.
2.25, right? Right around that. That's what we talked about earlier. When using a battery starter tester to make a battery load test, turn the control knob to draw battery current at a rate equal to which of the following? Half the battery's cold cranking amp. Duh, we've been talking about that the whole time. We're going to beat in. At the end of a 3-minute charge test, the voltage reading for a satisfactory 12-volt battery should not exceed how many volts?
See.
15.5.
Oh, yeah.
What did I just say earlier?
15.5.
In other words, when you're charging it for 3 minutes, it ought not to go over 15.5 volts, right? 3 minutes seems to be a magic number on a lot of this. I remember working on those Power Stroke diesels. We wanted to see if the friction modifiers broke down in the oil. We'd be looking at the ICP pressure on the scan tool. We're supposed to take the diesel and just bury the bone, throw the thing all the way to the floor and hold it there for 3 minutes.
That's a long.
On those diesels, of course it's governed at about 3,500.
Still.
But we would have to take it outside the shop because it just, because the yo-yos on the other side of the shop would just, it's driving crazy. How much of a change in specific gravity readings does temperature compensation involve for every 10 degrees? That's a sort of a question you got to parse as you go, isn't it? So you ask a question like that, you have to read it 2 or 3 times. How much of a change in specific gravity readings does temperature compensation involve for every 10 degrees? It's going to change. What is it?
Okay.
It's going to be 4, right? 0.004. That's a specific gravity reading. How many of you know that you take those little hydrometers that we use to measure coolant? You know where you put the little drop of stuff in there, you look through the light, and you see where the light blue line coming there? You know, how many of you know you can check your battery, specific gravity of your battery acid with that?
Didn't know that.
Yeah, drop a little drop on it, flip it down. On the far left is a scale that says, specific gravity. And the fact that you can use a refractometer, how that thing reflects light, it's just, who would have ever figured all that stuff out, That's like the people that say that you're not supposed to eat poke salad if the veins in the leaves are red because it'll be poison. I was wondering who figured that out and how they figured it out.
What now?
The poke salad out in the woods that you harvest and eat, if it's got red, if the veins in the leaf are red, you're not supposed to eat it because it's poison. And I was thinking, who figured that out and how they figured it out? You're eating the stuff and it's not poison, all of a sudden you eat it and it is. The red veins in the leaf. Somebody got sick. Somebody paid a price for that. Why should specific gravity readings be temperature compensated? Nope, I'm sorry. 17, I jumped over. Technician A says a fully charged battery will not freeze as easily as a discharged battery.
Yes, that's true.
Technician B says the specific gravity of a fully discharged battery is around 1.1. Who is correct on that? BOFUM. You know what that stands? You know what that says?
Both.
Both of them. Yeah. All right. Why should specific gravity readings be temperature compensated? Somebody need a lifeline on that one?
D.
That's it. We jumped over the book. Look at it. Why should specific gravity readings be temperature compensated? Because they're a more accurate indicator of the actual state of charge. 0, 32, you see. The condition of a battery cable and where it connects to the battery post is questionable. This is something that they're giving you a situation here. Technician A says a battery leakage test will determine the quality of the connection. What? Technician B says a battery terminal voltage drop test can be used to determine the quality of the connection. Who's right about that?
D.
That's the boy. What's the specific gravity of a battery at 80 degrees Fahrenheit?
At what state is it fully charged?
Yeah, and the specific gravity is an actual number. Where it would float if you use your hydrometer.
The 1.265.
1.265. That's a little short answer question there. That's it. The last question is a short answer question on that one. Okay, is everybody happy with that? You feel pretty good about it?
What was funny?
1.265.
Huh? 1.265.
1.265.
That sounds familiar.
1.265? Yeah, you're going to see that number a lot.